June sat alone in his small apartment, eating instant ramen and watching the rain hit his window. At 32 years old, his life was simple and quiet. He worked as an engineer fixing machines at a factory in Seoul. He had a few friends, a small savings account, and a cat named Moon who slept most of the day. Nothing exciting ever happened to June, and that was fine with him. Until today. The knock on his door came at exactly 8:17 p.m. June wasn't expecting anyone. He put down his bowl of ramen and walked to the door. Through the peephole, he saw a tall figure in a dark suit. "Who is it?" June called through the door. "I bring news regarding Park Tae-ho." A strange voice answered. June's heart jumped. Tae-ho had been his best friend since school days. 5 years ago, Tae-ho had disappeared without warning. The last thing he told June was, "I'm going to see the stars, my friend." Real close. Everyone thought Tae-ho had died while traveling overseas, but no body was ever found. June quickly unlocked the door. The person standing there wasn't a person at all. The man in the suit was nearly 7 feet tall with skin that looked like polished gray stone. His eyes were too large, set wide apart on a face that was almost, but not quite, human. He had no hair, and his fingers were too long, with one extra joint in each. June stepped back, heart racing. "What are you?" The being handed June a small metal card. "I am legal representative Cole 7 of the Galactic Alliance. I handle inheritance matters between worlds." June took the card without looking at it, unable to take his eyes off the alien. Inheritance. Tae-ho is dead. Citizen Park Tae-ho died 14 Earth days ago, while serving on the Alliance science vessel Distant Wonder. His dying wish was quite clear. The alien checked a small device in his hand. According to Galactic Law Code 773.2, in the event of my death, all my possessions, properties, and legal responsibilities shall transfer to Kim June of Seoul, Earth. June felt tears forming. Tae-ho was really gone. He had always hoped his friend would return someday with amazing stories. What possessions? Tae-ho didn't know much. Citizen Park became quite successful after leaving Earth. He owned several properties on 3 different planets. You will receive full documentation of these assets. The alien paused. However, the most pressing matter is your immediate legal responsibility. What responsibility? The alien stepped aside, revealing someone standing behind him. June gasped. She was clearly not human, but she was the most beautiful being June had ever seen. She stood nearly as tall as the legal alien, but moved with flowing grace. Her skin was a soft blue that seemed to shimmer with tiny lights, like stars seen through Earth's atmosphere. Her eyes were large and completely black, yet somehow warm. She had no hair, but a pattern of raised lines on her scalp looked like a crown of silver. She wore a simple white dress that moved like water around her slim form. "This is Ne Young of House Mira," the legal alien said. "According to Alliance marriage laws and the bonding contract signed by Citizen Park, you are now her legal husband and guardian until such time as she chooses to release you or until your death." June blinked several times. "I'm what?" "Her husband," the alien repeated. "The bond is already registered across all Alliance systems. Earth is not yet an Alliance member, but we honor bonds that involve citizens of non-member worlds." "There must be a mistake," June said, looking from the legal alien to the blue woman. "Tae-ho didn't tell me about any. Your friend became bonded to Mayung 2 Earth years ago," the legal alien explained. "He listed you as his inheritance designee for all matters, including his marriage bond. This is not uncommon when Alliance citizens have friends or family on non-member worlds." Nayum stepped forward and bowed slightly to June. "I greet you, Kim June," she said in perfect Korean, her voice like soft bells. "Tae-ho spoke of you often. He said you were the most honorable human he knew." June couldn't speak. This couldn't be real. Maybe he had fallen asleep on his couch. Maybe the ramen had gone bad. I understand this is surprising, Nayoung continued. I did not expect to be bonded to a new guardian so soon. But Taeho's work was dangerous, and he prepared for all possibilities. The legal alien held out a small metal cube to June. This contains all documentation regarding your inheritance, including properties, bank accounts, and bonding certificates. It also includes messages Citizen Park recorded for you. June took the cube automatically. It was warm and seemed to hum in his hand. My work here is complete, the legal alien said. Nayoung will explain how to use the information cube. All legal matters are in order. Do you have any immediate questions before I depart? June had 1,000 questions, but could only manage one. Is this real? The alien's face remained expressionless. Very real. Citizen Kim, your life has changed permanently. I suggest you adjust quickly. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The cube contains certain classified information regarding the circumstances of Citizen Park's death. The Alliance would prefer you keep such details private. With that, the legal alien walked away, leaving June standing in his doorway with a metal cube in his hand and an alien woman, apparently his wife, waiting patiently before him. May I enter your dwelling? Nayoung asked politely. June stepped aside numbly, and she glided into his small apartment. Moon the cat, normally shy around strangers, immediately came out from under the couch and rubbed against Nayoung's legs. She bent down with fluid grace and stroked the cat gently. Taeho showed me images of your companion animal, she said. This one recognizes that I am no threat to its territory. June closed the door and leaned against it. I don't understand any of this. Taeho disappeared 5 years ago. Everyone thought he was dead. Now I find out he's been in space, and he was married to a Muran. Nayoung finished for him. My people have observed Earth for many centuries, but we rarely interact directly with humans. Taeho was special. He was recruited by the Alliance for his unique abilities. What abilities? He was just a regular guy who liked to look at stars. Nayoung smiled, a surprisingly human expression on her alien face. That is what made him perfect for recruitment. His love of stars, his open mind, and his exceptional pattern recognition skills. The Alliance is always seeking beings who can see beyond their own worlds. June walked unsteadily to his couch and sat down. Nayoung remained standing, her posture perfect. Please, Jum said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Sit down. I need to process this. Nayoung sat with fluid movements. The information queue will answer many of your questions. Taeho knew this would be difficult for you. June stared at the cube in his hand. How do I use this? Press your thumb to the center panel. It is coded to your genetic signature, as Taeho provided a sample before his death. He had my DNA. From a drinking glass you used when you last met, he was already planning for contingencies. Jun pressed his thumb to the smooth metal surface. The cube hummed louder, then projected a small hologram into the air. Taeho's face, smiling that familiar crooked smile. Hey, Jun, the tiny floating head said. If you're seeing this, I'm dead. Sorry about that. And sorry about the whole alien wife surprise. I wanted to tell you everything, but Alliance rules are strict about contacting people on non-member worlds. The hologram laughed. I bet your face was priceless when they showed up at your door. Tears filled Jun's eyes at seeing his friend again, even as a small projection. There's so much to explain. Hologram Taeho continued. This cube has all the details, but the most important thing is Nayoung. She's brilliant and kind, and she deserves protection. I know you'll take care of her, and I think you'll like her once you get to know her. There are things happening in the Alliance, Jun. Dangerous things. Nayoung knows some of it. Trust her. The hologram flickered. The cube has access codes to my accounts. You're a rich man now, my friend. Use it well. And there's more you need to know, but not in this message. Young will help you access the secured files. Taiho's tiny face grew serious. Watch the stars, June. Things are about to change for Earth. Be ready. The hologram disappeared, leaving June staring at empty air. He looked at Young, who watched him with those deep black eyes. What did he mean by dangerous things? June asked. What happened to Taiho? Young's shimmering face grew solemn. The official report states that he died in an accident during a research mission. I believe otherwise. Before he left on his final journey, he gave me encoded information. He said if anything happened to him, I should trust only you with the truth. She reached out one long-fingered hand. I know this is not what you expected from your quiet evening, Kim Jun. But Taiho believed in you. And now I must do the same. June looked at her outstretched hand, blue and alien, and yet somehow trusting. His ordinary life was over. Whatever came next would be anything but quiet. He took her hand. 3 days had passed since Young arrived at June's apartment. 3 very strange days. June woke up on his couch again, his neck stiff. He had given Young his bedroom, even though she told him she didn't need to sleep like humans did. She only needed 2 hours of what she called energy meditation each week. What do you do all night then? June had asked on the first night. I read, I study, I think, she had answered simply. Your world has much to learn about. June sat up and rubbed his eyes. The smell of something burning made him jump to his feet. In his small kitchen, Young stood looking with confusion at a smoking pan on the stove. I believe I have failed at preparing hen eggs again, she said calmly. June hurried over and turned off the stove. The eggs were black and stuck to the pan. It's okay, he said, taking the pan to the sink. Eggs are tricky. I have studied human cooking methods. The process seems simple, Young said. Her face showed no frustration, but her skin color had darkened slightly, which June had learned meant she was embarrassed. Why are you trying to cook? You don't even eat human food. Young tilted her head. I wish to be useful. You have been kind to let me stay here. It's not like I had a choice, June said, then immediately felt bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. No apology needed. This situation is not what either of us expected. Young watched as June cleaned the pan. Tonight I need to take my mineral supplement. I have enough for 2 more weeks. Then we will need to find Earth materials that can replace some components. June nodded. Over the past days, he had learned that Young's blue skin absorbed energy from light, but she still needed certain rare minerals to survive. It was one of many differences between them. I've been reading the files in Taiho's cube, June said, putting bread in the toaster. Some of it makes no sense to me. What parts trouble you? Young asked, sitting at the small kitchen table. For one thing, how did Taiho even meet aliens? How did he end up working for this alliance? Young's skin rippled with tiny lights, something June now knew happened when she was thinking deeply. The alliance has been watching Earth for a long time. We occasionally identify humans with special talents or minds that would be valuable. Taiho had a rare ability to see patterns across different systems. The talent scouts found him when he published his astronomy blog about star patterns that shouldn't exist. Wait, June said, turning to face her. That silly blog he started in college. He was just guessing about stuff. No, Young said. He was seeing real patterns that Earth's telescopes shouldn't have been able to capture. That's what made the Alliance interested. They approached him and offered him a choice: stay on Earth or join them among the stars. He chose the stars. June's toast popped up. He buttered it absently. Why didn't he tell me? We were best friends. Contact with family and friends on non-member worlds is strictly limited. He was breaking rules, even having that drinking glass with your DNA. Young's black eyes seemed sad. He missed you very much. June sat at the table with his toast. The files mentioned something called the Harmony Project. What is that? Young's skin suddenly went very dark blue, almost black. She looked around nervously. "We should not discuss that here," she whispered. "Why? We're alone in my apartment." "Your walls have ears now," she said. "Since my arrival, your dwelling is likely being monitored." June stopped eating. By who? Alliance security, perhaps, or worse, those who might have arranged Taiho's death. "You really think he was murdered?" Instead of answering, Nayoung stood up. "We should go outside. There is a park nearby, yes. Open spaces are harder to monitor." 20 minutes later, they walked through the small neighborhood park. It was early morning, and few people were around. Those who did pass by stared at Nayoung. She wore a long coat with a hood that covered most of her blue skin, but her face was still visible and clearly not human. "Don't people freak out seeing you?" June asked quietly. "Most humans assume I am wearing costume makeup or have a skin condition. Your species often ignores what does not fit your understanding of reality." Nayoung looked around carefully before continuing. The Harmony Project was Taiho's main work. It was supposed to be about preparing Earth to eventually join the Alliance. That sounds good, right? It was meant to be. A slow, careful introduction to galactic society over many decades. But Taiho discovered something wrong. Some Alliance officials were changing the project. Changing it how? Nayoung's voice dropped even lower. Instead of careful preparation, they planned to cause problems on Earth. Political fights, energy crisis, even wars. Then they would offer advanced technology as solutions. Why would they do that? Control. A planet that joins the Alliance in desperation accepts worse terms than one that joins as an equal. These corrupt officials wanted Earth's resources and location. Your planet sits at a valuable point between major trade routes. June stopped walking, and Taiho found this out. Nayoung nodded. He gathered evidence secretly. He stored some in the cube, some with me, and some elsewhere. He told me if anything happened to him, I should take everything to you. He said you would know what to do when the time came. Me? I'm just an engineer. I fix factory machines. June ran his hand through his hair in frustration. I don't know anything about space politics or alien conspiracies. That is exactly why he trusted you, Nayoung said. You are outside their system. You think differently, and you have something many Alliance species lack. What's that? Human creativity. The ability to find solutions no one else sees. She touched his arm gently. Taiho said it was humanity's greatest strength. They sat on a park bench. An old man walked by with a small dog that barked once at Nayoung, then hid behind its owner's legs. So what do we do now? June asked. We must access the hidden files in the cube. Taiho left instructions, but they are complex. We need special equipment. What kind of equipment? Some I can build with Earth materials. Others we may need to get from less official sources. Jun raised his eyebrows. You mean alien black market? Nayoung's skin rippled with lights that June now recognized as her version of a smile. Yes, there are more non-humans on your planet than you realize. Most keep hidden, but there are places they gather. And you know where these places are. Taiho left coordinates. There is one in this city. June shook his head in disbelief. Aliens hanging out in Seoul. What next? As if answering his question, Nayoung suddenly stiffened. We need to leave. Now. What's wrong? The man by the pond. He has been watching us too long, and he is holding something that is not a phone. June looked where she indicated. A tall man in a dark coat stood feeding ducks, occasionally glancing their way. Maybe he's just. Trust me, Nayoung said, standing up smoothly. My species can sense focused attention. He is watching us. Walk normally toward the east exit. They walked at a steady pace. June resisted the urge to look back. Is he following? He whispered. Yes, and he has signaled someone else. There is another near the exit. June felt his heart racing. This was really happening. Someone was after them. What do we do? Nayoung took his hand. Her blue fingers were cool against his skin. Follow my lead. When I squeeze your hand, run left between those trees. They continued walking. June saw a man in a business suit standing near the park exit, pretending to read something on his phone. Nayoung squeezed his hand. June turned left and ran, pulling Nayoung with him. They sprinted between trees, down a small hill, and toward a busy street. They're still following, Nayoung said, her breathing perfectly normal despite their pace. We need to get to your vehicle. It's 3 blocks away. Then we must be creative. Nayoung pointed to a delivery scooter parked outside a restaurant, its driver inside picking up an order. Can you operate that? You want me to steal a scooter? Borrow, Nayoung corrected, to save our lives, and possibly your planet. Put that way, June found it hard to argue. They rushed to the scooter. Thankfully, the key was still in it. June jumped on, and Nayoung climbed on behind him, her arms around his waist. Hold tight, he said, starting the engine. As they pulled away, June saw the 2 men running toward them. One reached inside his coat. Go faster, Nayoung urged. June weaved the scooter through traffic, taking random turns, until he was sure they had lost their pursuers. Who were they? He asked as they slowed down. Alliance security, perhaps, or private agents working for the corrupt officials. Nayoung's voice was calm despite their situation. They know I am here now. They will be watching your apartment. We cannot go back. Then where do we go? To find the hidden aliens. We need their help to decode Taiho's message. Nayoung's arms tightened around June's waist. Your life has become very complicated, Kim June. I am sorry for that. June thought about his quiet apartment, his simple job, his ordinary life. All gone now. Don't be sorry, he said, surprising himself. Taiho always said I needed more excitement. He felt Nayoung's silent laugh against his back as they sped through the streets of Seoul, toward whatever strange future awaited them. The hidden alien bar was in the basement of what looked like an ordinary noodle shop. An old woman at the counter gave Nayoung a long look, then nodded toward a back door when Nayoung showed her a strange symbol on her wrist. Are you sure about this? June whispered as they walked down a narrow hallway. No, Nayoung admitted, but we have few options now. They reached a metal door with no handle. Nayoung placed her palm against it, and the door slid open silently. Inside was like nothing June had ever seen. The room was much larger than seemed possible from outside. Soft blue light came from glowing orbs floating near the ceiling. Strange music played, with sounds no earth instrument could make. And the customers. June stared in amazement. Some looked almost human, with just small differences, eyes too large or skin with odd colors. Others were completely alien, creatures with extra limbs, or made of what looked like living crystal, or floating above their seats. Close your mouth, Nayoung said gently. It is rude to stare. June snapped his mouth shut. Everyone turned to look at them. The room went quiet. A human, someone whispered in perfect Korean. With a Moran, another voice added. Nayoung stood tall, her blue skin glowing slightly. We seek information and equipment. We can pay well. A figure moved from the shadows. It looked like a human man, except his eyes were solid gold with no pupils. Payment is good, he said, but trust is better. Why should we help you? Bringing a human here puts us all at risk. This human is bonded to me, Nayoung said. He is the inheritance holder of Park Taiho. Murmurs spread through the room. The golden-eyed man looked surprised. Taiho is dead. Yes, Nayoung said, and not by accident, we believe. The man waved them toward a booth in the corner. Sit, tell me everything. For the next hour, Nayoung explained about Taiho's discovery of corruption in the Alliance, his death, and the hidden information he had left. The man, who called himself Dal, listened carefully. The Harmony Project was suspicious from the start, Dal said when she finished. Too many resources for simple first contact preparation. He looked at June. And what do you think of all this, human? June took a deep breath. I think I'm in way over my head. But Tahoe was my friend. If he thought Earth was in danger, I have to help. Dal nodded. Honesty. Good. He turned to Nayoung. What equipment do you need? A quantum decoder for the cube's hidden files. And perhaps weapons. Dal laughed. Weapons I can provide. But a quantum decoder. Those are restricted technology. The Alliance monitors them closely. Then we need parts to build something similar, Nayoung said. Tahoe mentioned that human technology could be adapted. Dal looked doubtful. Human tech is primitive. Hey, Jun said, feeling offended. We're not that far behind. Your most advanced computers are toys compared to basic Alliance technology, Dal said. But that's the point. Nayoung cut in. The Alliance won't expect human technology to work. They won't be watching for it. Dal considered this. What human technology could possibly decode quantum-locked files? All eyes turned to June. He thought for a moment, mind racing through possibilities. Maybe a modified gaming computer. The newest graphics processors are made to handle complex calculations. If we could connect it to something that can read the cube's data format. Dal looked skeptical, but Nayoung's skin lit up with rippling patterns. This is what Tahoe meant, she said. Human creativity. Solutions no one else would think of because they seem impossible. Dal sighed. I will help you get what you need. Not for you. He nodded at June. But for Tahoe. He was good to our community here. 2 hours later, June and Nayoung left with a bag of strange parts, a handheld weapon that Nayoung hid under her coat, and the address of a safe place to stay. A small apartment owned by another hidden alien who was off-world for several months. The apartment was tiny but clean, with technology that looked both familiar and strange. The television was normal, but it picked up channels from across the galaxy. The refrigerator had a regular section for human food, and another section that Nayoung explained was for materials that need to exist in different time states. June didn't ask for details. They worked through the night, June connecting his new gaming laptop, purchased with some of Tahoe's inheritance money, to the alien parts Dal had provided. Nayoung helped where she could, but she seemed impressed by how quickly June understood the alien technology. You have natural talent for this, she said as June figured out how to connect a crystal data module to his computer's USB port using parts from an old phone charger and some aluminum foil. I've always been good at fixing things, Jum said, focused on his work. My father was a repairman. He taught me to look at how things work, not just what they're supposed to do. By morning, Jun had built a strange-looking device. His laptop was connected to Tahoe's cube through a mess of wires, alien crystals, and what looked like parts from a microwave. He had downloaded special software from the dark web and modified it based on Nayoung's advice. It looks unique, Nayoung said, staring at the contraption. But will it work? June asked, suddenly doubtful. Only one way to find out. Nayoung carefully placed the cube in the center of the device. June took a deep breath and pressed enter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cube began to glow, and the laptop screen filled with strange symbols. It's working, Nayoung said, her skin pulsing with bright light. The cube is unlocking. The symbols on the screen changed to Korean text. A video file appeared, showing Tahoe in what looked like a ship's cabin. If you're seeing this, Tahoe's recording said, you've figured out how to decode the hidden files. Good job, June. I knew you could do it. June felt pride and sadness at the same time. What I'm about to show you is dangerous, Tahoe continued. It's proof that certain officials in the Alliance are planning to introduce destructive technology to Earth governments. They want to start conflicts that will keep Earth weak and divided. The video showed documents, recordings of secret meetings, and plans for weapons that could cause massive destruction while looking like natural disasters. Their plan has 3 phases, Taiho explained. First, they create problems. Second, they offer solutions that make Earth dependent on them. Third, they take control of Earth's resources without most humans ever knowing what happened. Ne Young touched Jun's shoulder as they watched. This is worse than I feared. The final part of the video showed a map with locations marked around Earth. These are their agent locations, Taiho said. And this, he pointed to a spot in the ocean east of Korea, is their main base. All the evidence is stored there. If you can get in and transmit it to the Alliance Council, they'll have to stop the corrupt officials. The video ended with Taiho looking directly at the camera. I'm sorry to put this on you, Jun, but I know you can handle it. Take care of Naedong. She'll help you. And remember, humans have something special. We think outside the box because we don't know what's supposed to be impossible. That's your advantage. The screen went dark. Jun sat back, overwhelmed. How are we supposed to get into an underwater alien base? He asked. Naeum looked thoughtful. There might be a way. The cube has more data now. Access codes, security protocols, and we have something they won't expect. What's that? You, a human engineer who can make Alliance technology work with Earth devices in ways they've never seen before. She gestured at his makeshift decoder. This shouldn't work, but it does. That's the kind of thinking we need. Jun looked at his strange creation. It was ugly and would probably fail any Alliance safety inspection, but it worked. So we're really going to do this. Try to save Earth from alien conspirators. Naeum's skin glowed softly in the dim room. Do you have a better plan? Jun thought about his old life. Fixing machines at the factory, eating ramen alone, watching TV with his cat. It seems so far away now. No, he said finally. I guess saving the world is our only option. Naeum's skin rippled with what Jun now recognized as her version of a smile. We will need help. Your human friends. Do you know anyone who might believe this story? Someone with useful skills. Jun thought for a moment. Maybe. My old college roommate Q works in cybersecurity now. And my cousin Hannah is in the Korean Navy. She might know about underwater operations. Contact them, Naeung said. But be careful. Use coded language. We cannot risk being discovered. Jun nodded, already thinking about how to explain aliens and galactic conspiracies to his friends without sounding completely crazy. This is not how I expected my life to go, he said with a small laugh. Few lives follow expected paths, Naeung replied. But Taeho believed you were meant for something important. And so do I. The rising sun sent beams of light through the apartment window, making Naeung's blue skin glow like sapphires. In that moment, looking at this alien woman who had completely changed his world, Jun made his decision. Let's save Earth, he said simply. Naeung nodded. Let's save Earth, she agreed. 1 week later, Jun stood on the deck of a small fishing boat, looking out at the dark water. The night was clear, stars shining brightly above. His cousin Hannah stood next to him, still looking shocked. I still can't believe all this, Hannah said quietly. Aliens, secret bases, galactic conspiracies. Imagine how I felt, Jun replied with a small smile. 1 minute I'm eating ramen alone. The next I have an alien wife and people trying to kill me. Naeung joined them, her blue skin covered by a long coat. The boat captain says we are approaching the coordinates. Behind them, Jun's friend Q was checking equipment. After hearing their story and seeing Naeung, he had agreed to help. His computer skills would be essential for hacking into the underwater base. So how exactly do we get into a base at the bottom of the ocean? Hannah asked. Naeung pointed to a small device in her hand. This will call a transport pod to the surface. They use them to bring supplies or new staff to the base without using the main entrance, which is monitored. And you're sure your access codes will work? Q asked nervously. Taiho's codes should still be valid, Naeung said. The Alliance rarely changes security protocols unless there is a known breach. The boat captain cut the engine, letting them drift. He was another alien. He looked human except for gills behind his ears, who lived quietly on Earth. Dal had connected them. "We're here," the captain called softly. "No other boats in range. You have about 20 minutes before the Alliance patrol passes this area again." Na-Young activated her device. The water 30 feet from the boat began to bubble. "It's coming," she said. A smooth metal pod, shaped like an egg and about the size of a small car, rose from the depths. It floated on the surface, and a door slid open. "That's our ride?" June asked. "Yes. It will take us down to the secondary entrance." They gathered their equipment. June's modified devices, weapons Dal had provided, and the special transmitter they would use to send Tahoe's evidence to the Alliance Council. "Good luck," the captain said as they climbed into the pod. "If you're not back in 6 hours, I'll have to leave." "We understand," Na-Young said. The pod door closed, and water filled a small chamber as the pod began to sink. June felt his ears pop as they descended. "Is everyone okay?" he asked. Hana and Q nodded, looking nervous but determined. The journey down took 10 minutes. Through small windows, they watched as the water grew darker and strange lights appeared. Bioluminescent sea creatures, and finally, the glow of the underwater base itself. It was massive, a structure the size of a small city, hidden under the East Sea. Lights shone from domes and towers. Small vehicles moved around it like fish. "How can something this big be hidden from Earth?" Hana whispered. "Energy shields and perception filters," Na-Young explained. "Your military ships and submarines pass right by without seeing it." The pod approached a small docking area away from the main sections. It attached with a soft thud, and the water drained from the chamber. Na-Young took a deep breath. "From this point, we must move quickly. I will enter Tahoe's access codes. Once inside, we have 30 minutes to reach the central data hub. Download the evidence and transmit it before security realizes we don't belong." June checked his makeshift device one last time. It looked ridiculous. A mixture of human electronics and alien crystals held together with tape and wire. But it was their best hope for bypassing the base's advanced security. "Everyone ready?" he asked. His friends nodded. Na-Young's skin glowed with determination. The pod door opened. They stepped into the alien base. The corridors were empty at first. Na-Young led them confidently, using Tahoe's map. They passed strange rooms filled with technology June couldn't begin to understand. Twice they had to hide as alien workers walked by, beings with too many limbs or eyes, or made of materials that seemed impossible. Finally, they reached a security door. Beyond it was the central data hub. "This is it," Na-Young whispered. "The door requires high-level clearance." June connected his device to the door's control panel. "Let's see if my human solution works on alien security." His device hummed and sparked. The alien technology fought against his programming, rejecting the unfamiliar signals. Sweat formed on June's forehead as he made quick adjustments. "It's not working," Q whispered anxiously. "It's not working yet," June corrected. He thought about what Tahoe had said. Humans think differently because they don't know what's impossible. Instead of trying to speak the alien technology's language perfectly, June tried something new. He created what was essentially technological nonsense, a flood of random signals so strange that the security system couldn't categorize them as either authorized or unauthorized. The panel flickered, then glowed green. The door slid open. "How did you do that?" Na-Young asked, amazed. June smiled. "I confused it. Sometimes being unpredictable is better than being correct." They rushed inside. The data hub was a large room filled with glowing crystals and floating screens. No one was there. It was automated. Na-Young went to the main console. "Connect your transmitter. I'll find Tahoe's evidence files." Q and Jun set up the transmitter while Hana kept watch at the door. Na-Young's fingers flew over the alien controls, her skin changing colors as she concentrated. "I found them," she said finally. All Taiho's recordings, documents, everything about the Harmony Project corruption. Downloading now. An alarm suddenly blared through the base. They've detected us, Hannah called from the door. We need more time, Ne Young said, working faster. The download is only at 60%. How much longer? June asked. 2 minutes, maybe 3. Hannah looked down the corridor. We don't have that long. Someone's coming. June thought quickly. Q, help Ne Young finish the download. Hannah, get ready to seal this door when I say so. What are you going to do? Ne Young asked, looking worried. Create a distraction. June grabbed one of the weapons Dal had given them and stepped into the corridor. 3 security guards were approaching. 2 looked almost human, but one was a floating sphere with multiple appendages. They all carried weapons. Intruder, one called, raising his weapon. Jun didn't shoot. Instead, he pointed his weapon at the ceiling and fired. The energy blast hit a pipe, which exploded in a cloud of steam. Warning lights flashed everywhere as pressure systems failed. Jun ran down a side corridor, away from the data hub. The guards followed him, shouting. He led them on a chase through the base, using his small size to duck through narrow spaces and around corners. His heart raced as energy blasts hit walls near him. One grazed his arm, leaving a painful burn. Finally, he circled back toward the data hub through a different route. Hannah was waiting at the door. Get in, she called. The download is complete. June dove through the door just as another blast hit the wall beside him. Hannah slammed the door control, sealing it shut. Inside, Ne Young and Q had finished. The transmitter was active, sending the evidence directly to the Alliance Council. Transmission at 90%, Q reported, but they're trying to block it. June connected his device to the transmitter, boosting its signal with the unpredictable human technology that the base systems couldn't easily counter. Transmission complete, Ne Young announced just as pounding began on the sealed door. Now what? Hannah asked. How do we get out? Ne Young's skin had turned a dark, worried blue. The pod will be guarded now. June looked around the room, thinking. His eyes fell on a console marked with symbols he recognized from Taiho's files. Emergency protocols, he said, moving to the console. Every base has them. He activated the system, and a new map appeared on the screens. Evacuation routes. There, he pointed. Emergency escape pods, 1 level down. They're designed to launch automatically during a crisis. And how do we create a crisis? Q asked. June smiled and held up his makeshift device. With this, one last job for my impossible human technology. He connected it to the main systems and programmed it to send conflicting commands to critical systems, not enough to destroy the base, but enough to trigger evacuation protocols. Alarms blared as systems began to fail. Automated announcements in an alien language echoed through the corridors. It's working, Ne Young said. The base is going into emergency lockdown. All non-essential personnel will evacuate. They found a maintenance shaft that led down to the escape pod level. As they reached it, they saw aliens rushing to the pods, following evacuation procedures. In the confusion, they slipped into one of the pods. Ne Young quickly entered commands, and the pod detached from the base. They shot upward through the water, away from the chaotic base below. Through the small window, Jun watched the massive structure grow smaller, its lights flickering as systems reset. Did we do it? He asked Ne Young. Will the evidence be enough? Yes, she said, her skin glowing with relief and something else. Pride. The transmission was received by the council. They are already responding. The corrupt officials will be arrested, and the True Harmony Project will proceed as originally planned. The pod broke the surface under a sky full of stars. Their boat was waiting nearby. As they climbed aboard, exhausted but triumphant, the captain grinned at them. You actually did it. The alien communication networks are buzzing with the news. Hours later, safe in the hidden apartment, they celebrated their success. Hana and Q were still processing everything they had seen, asking Nayoung endless questions about the Alliance and other worlds. June stepped out onto the small balcony for a moment of quiet. Nayoung joined him. "What happens now?" he asked, looking up at the stars. "Earth will be contacted officially within 1 year," Nayoung said. "The proper protocols will be followed. Your world will join the Alliance as an equal, not as a victim." "And what about us?" June asked, turning to look at her. Her blue skin shimmered in the starlight. "The bond Taeho created between us was legal. I am still your wife, unless you wish to dissolve the arrangement." June thought about his old life and the amazing new world he had discovered. He thought about Nayoung, who had gone from stranger to partner in their shared adventure. "I think I'd like to keep things as they are," he said softly. "If that's okay with you." Nayoung's skin lit up with patterns June had never seen before, beautiful swirls of light that expressed emotions beyond his understanding. "I would like that very much," she said. Above them, the stars seemed brighter somehow, closer, now that June knew what, and who, was out there among them. His ordinary life was gone forever, replaced by something extraordinary. And he wouldn't have it any other way.